Hey, Wokers. In this episode, extra levels of me being silly and comedy, making people feel uncomfortable in intimate situations as a spiritual practice, the effect of starlight on the human body, as well as me and all of us humans needing to just chill out and tune in order to receive all of the wonderful messages and healing that are coming through to us. It's a beautiful one.
Are you ready to get woke? Welcome to the Woke as podcast with your host, Alex Lazarev.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is going to be definitely an interesting and wacky one because I know our special guest very well. And man, I guess her name's Avi Esther. That's the first thing I should say. I think I'm just going to start with how we met. I think that's the fun way to go about it. And then you could tell us about who the hell you are and what you're doing and all our goofy adventures. So basically, I was at Anarchapulco, the second one that they had, but the first one I was at. It was 2016. And I was just sitting there all the way in the back, and I was just watching some guy on stage that frankly wasn't that interesting. This guy it wasn't great. He was like, whatever. But then I actually saw you walk in. I saw you walk in. Oh, no, wait, did I? I'm not sure if I saw you walk in, but at one point I look over, and I distinctly remember seeing this, basically like a midget person, like a tiny midget. Don't make that face. You're tiny. You're smaller than any human I've seen, except for when I was in certain Asian countries, but that's it. But you were just sitting there, but in like legs crossed up on the chair, perfect yoga posture. And I just looked at you, and you were very, very you were just very still. And I immediately thought, she's hot. She's got a great energy. I got to chat her up. And I really wanted to chat you up. That was my plan. And I went about doing it, and I thought I did a good job. I remember I came up to you and I made some little cocky, jokey comment, but I knew I was just gonna have you do something fun and then leave you alone, and then later I would talk to you again. So I did that, and then eventually we ended up talking and basically becoming pals, and the rest is history. But that's basically how we met. I was gonna chat you up.
You were trying to chat me up.
That was my. I thought. Well, what was your? I shouldn't be asking this, but what was your recollection?
I can't remember who was on stage either. And I remember sitting in the chairs. See, because I am short, my feet dangle, and it's really uncomfortable, which is why I sit with my legs crossed in the chairs.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Otherwise, someone will walk by and they'll just go wee, and they'll push your legs just to make them dangle more, which is fun. Or they'll do that thing where I chop you right below the knee, where your reflex.
No, it hurts my back when my feet dangle. So you can dangle for so long, but if you're listening to somebody talk for like an hour, having dangling legs the whole time, you get dead legs. So it's easier to sit.
That makes sense.
As they say in America, Indian style.
I can already see me putting the notes on the podcast, like what's in it. Knee dangling. Preventing knee dangling knee damage with Avi Esther. That is one of our potential titles, folks.
Maintaining knee health.
That's right. That's technically... It's in there now.
It is.
The more tags we get for the search, the better.
Oh, so wow. That's fantastic.
Fine. Totally fine.
And then I remember looking to my right, because you sort of leaned over to say something humorous, and introduced yourself, and I remember my thought response was, another Sasha. Because I, as you know a handful of Sashas. And I thought that was amusing. And I thought you were amusing. And the thing I remember from 2016 was there was a moment where we were like, you know what? We're going to be friends. And then there was nothing for a while. And I'm not exactly sure. I can't actually remember what catalyzed the friendship, but because we had these sort of sporadic interactions, and then one day we sort of realized that we were soul family, and we're just like, oh shit, we're here on the same mission. Got it. Cool. And then it's just been like that, with the feeling of it's always been like that. So it's not actually a very interesting story.
I guess it's not that interesting.
No, it's not. It's a really bland story. Yeah. Both of us have much better stories.
We do. Like, I thought it just seemed so logical. That was the place to start.
Yeah.
Where do we?
Yeah.
But
so, that was our very uninteresting.
Yeah. Well,
We all need contrast.
we all need contrast. And if we didn't have that not very good story, the stuff we're going to talk about that's fascinating wouldn't seem as nearly as fascinating. So
It's true.
it's good to start off sort of and then build up.
Mediocre.
Yeah, well, you learn that being a comic. You don't want to do all your best stuff right at the beginning. Then you're fucked, and it's all downhill.
Yeah.
You want to start strong and then do good stuff, and then have some weaker stuff in the middle, and then end strong. We did break that rule. We just started weak. You're not actually supposed to do. That's fine. Fuck it. Doesn't matter.
We got great voices.
We got great voices. I'll be honest. We have great voices.
We do.
And recently, this week, we've been in the sauna a lot together.
Yeah, it was the last couple weeks.
Couple weeks, just as friends, doing Feldenkrais classes, and we're gonna have to talk about it, right?
Making people feel really awkward in the sauna.
Yeah. Oh, let's just open there. Like that's where the comedy is. That's what people are. Fuck it. That's what we're gonna talk about. So basically, I go to this. I don't even know if we should talk about like which studio it is because we shouldn't, right?
Not.
We should not mention it.
No.
But let's just say there's a sauna in London that we go to.
A very trendy part of town.
Trendy part of town. It's a sauna. And the thing is about me is like I always have to make it uncomfortable in any type of social situation, and the more private or the more inappropriate it is,
The more intimate.
The easier it's easier said that way. Sure, the more intimate the situation is, the more necessary and easier it is for me to make it uncomfortable. Like I have to do
Hilarious.
it. I have to do it. I can't help myself because people are so, people are like, not just because we're in the UK where people are super, super like introverted and shy and awkward and just have no social skills. Mm-hmm. Everywhere in the world, generally speaking, people are very, 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 they just don't have any social skills or game, and they just look down. Have you seen people on the elevator or anywhere? The people are just awkward as fuck. They just look down and avoid eye contact. That's generally what it's like, unless you get the occasional, charismatic guy who just pumps all these girls because he's charismatic. So whenever someone's in the sauna, and by the way, this started years ago with me doing all the stuff, as I was explaining to you recently, all the stuff I do to get guys to my old job where I'm trying to help guys connect with girls. Step one. Stop being afraid of rejection, which means, for years I would just put guys in all these awkward, uncomfortable social situations where they would just face it and just feel uncomfortable and feel everybody looking at them thinking, this guy's a retard. And once you're totally okay with that, once you're okay with rejection, that sets you up for success in life. And I don't care what you're doing in life. So it's just a habit, and it's so much fun doing this stuff. Yeah. It's just so much fun. So when people come into the sauna, first I always welcome them. I always say, hey, you're right. Or I just go, hey, welcome to the sauna. Where have you been?
We do.
We were waiting for you. Yeah. So we welcome them, and then I just always take over, and I just start a conversation. I'll start.
Take over a conversation.
I just have to take over or begin, and then by the end of it, everyone is chatting away, and we're all like either arguing or talking about something. And we've had great chats in the sauna. It's been fascinating. But it's the fine line between like when you go in and it's totally silent and nobody's talking, and to taking it to like everyone's chatting and having a great time. I do that pretty consistently.
Yeah, you do.
Pretty much every time I go in.
Really successfully as well, usually.
I refuse. Once I decide, like my energy, you can't fight it. I'm happy and I'm chatty, and you're going to get sucked in or you're going to have to leave. And that's the amazing thing. Nobody goes, fuck this, and leaves. People just get sucked in.
Sometimes people do. We've gotten a couple of like they get so uncomfortable from the heat and from...
Well, from the heat.
But a couple of times it was a mixture of heat and just discomfort, and they just got up and left. Yeah.
Maybe.
Definitely. Definitely there was two people.
Okay.
What was your favorite conversation in the sauna so far?
There's been so many conversations. I mean, really, there's just all these very nice ladies of the Jewish persuasion, and we just get into it. It's funny because the first one that was quite profound. They were talking about like it's a pattern that you'll notice, by the way, if you go there. A lot of these girls, they're looking for husbands.
Oh yeah,
they're looking for husbands, and after like 3 sauna sessions, I came to Isabel, and I was just like, are all women in their 30s? Pretty much just looking for a husband, and apparently that's the case. That's if you're 30s and you're not married, you're
especially if you're Jewish.
Especially if you're Jewish, yeah, that's how it is. So when are you gonna get a husband, Avi?
Well, technically, I've had a husband.
Oh yeah, so
and I've been divorced.
Let's get to that after the sauna. Funny story.
Yeah.
Let's stick to. Let's
I
stick
was
to one
thinking
thing.
maybe 3-4 years.
3-4 years. Okay, that was a joke question.
Yeah.
But in
I
the
answered
sauna,
it anyway.
yeah, it's fine. But in the sauna, so we were having a conversation about polyamory actually, because they were like, I basically brought up. I was just like, well, guys,
I missed the polyamory
missed that
conversation.
one. Yeah,
I loved the polyamory conversation.
They didn't like me for that. That was where I that was
I
one
should
where
have
I was
been there.
getting a lot of resistance, and even though I made some really good points, I could feel like there was some resistance. But it was interesting because I was listening to their perspective, and I was just like, yeah, but the thing is, monogamy just isn't for everyone. And if you actually if you want to go really deeper and look at like the history of humankind, as well as the fact that there were mammals and mammals aren't actually monogamous.
That's not entirely true.
Some of them are, but the vast majority are not monogamous. Vast majority, with a big V. Very few are. And if you look at through like the way we used to live in tribes and stuff, the men would go around and they'd spread their seed all over the place, and the tribe itself would take care of the family, and that's basically how it rolled for a really long time, like a really long time.
I've read some really interesting studies that say the opposite, and there's been different social structures, both tribal and agricultural. But let's not go into the polyamory conversation right now.
But the point is, it was an interesting conversation. I brought in my view, and all I was really saying was that, like, hey, everyone's different, and there is no thing that's right or wrong, or like I'm sure there's some wrong things, but there's nothing that's right for everyone. Yeah, there's definitely wrong stuff. But you know what I mean? You can't just say, oh yeah, well, everyone's supposed to get married and have kids. That's fucking ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. There are people who really want to have kids, and that's fantastic, and I'm really happy for them. And there's people out there who absolutely don't, and that's fine. And there's some people who want to have a fish or a dog or a kid and a dog, or maybe two dogs, or maybe they just want to be gay and get butt fucked in huge gang rape fun things at their house, and their dog watches. And that's totally fine too, as long as I'm not invited to that. I don't need to see that. Ever. But everyone can do whatever they want to. But so that was an interesting one. And then there was some drama because one of the ladies, she was a Jew, but she was dating
a non-Jew?
Not even a non-Jew, but like a Lebanese guy who was
an Arab.
She was dating an Arab, and she's like, I really like this guy. And then the other lady was like, Muslim. It's not gonna. Yeah, it's not. Basically, she was like, it's not gonna work. It's really not gonna work. It's too different. She's like, but I really like this guy. And it was interesting to watch the drama and the different points of view and everything. Actually one of the ladies this was another discussion we had another time. I don't think you were there for this one either, but it was really fascinating because I started talking about my definition of, and there's many definitions, but sort of my idea, or at least the idea that I find useful when I define ego. And this is again what I was talking about. If you crush that part of your ego that's like, oh, you can't talk to that girl, or you're going to fail, or you'll never get that raise, or that part that's trying to keep you down. If you destroy that. Specifically the part that is worried about what people think. If you just completely eradicate that, sets you up to be a lot more free to do what you want to, especially in a dating arena. And I basically said that for me, that's a shitty part of the ego that I was referring to, but I referred to that just as the ego. And then one of them was like, that's not your ego. Ego's something else completely. And then she talked, and then so we got into this whole thing.
Ego debate.
Ego, yeah, we got into a debate with ego, and that was very interesting. And she brought up some points that I learned stuff, and I was like, yep, absolutely, that makes sense. And I guess it's it's different for everybody. So that was interesting, and I learned that one of the ladies was quite smart, and she had been through a lot of trauma herself, and she'd seen therapists, and she'd done a lot of reading. So she actually had quite. Oh, it was the one, the one.
The one that I pissed off?
The one that you pissed off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her and her guy got into
ego. But you started that by telling that amazing joke.
Oh, God, yeah. We have to share that. So one time we were in the sauna, just recently, like I guess last week.
No, it was more than a month ago. It was like, yeah, I know, time has really just flown past. Because it was like maybe the second time we were in the sauna together.
It doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
I know, but it was.
But anyway, I was just like, you guys want to hear a great business idea I had last week? And they're like, sure. I says, yeah, great business idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a cleaning business, but I'm going to hire only multiracial employees. Yeah. I'm going to call it ethnic cleansing. And it was fun. And then you laughed a lot. You basically lost your shit.
I fell off the chair and was like having to hold myself up on the wall because it was so funny to me. But this blonde chick really took a lot of offense, and then took even more offense that I thought it was so funny. Yeah. And the point of contention was, of course, the Holocaust, because many Jews have that chip on their shoulder. And my name is Avi Esther. There aren't that many more names that are more Jewish than my name.
Just for the record, no one's more Jewish than you.
Oh, that's not true.
That's not true, but it's
no,
funny
because
no,
we're gonna go to the Jewish name thing. So my siblings are Asaf, Bracha, Daniel, Idan, Ronen, and Sivan.
I'm making uncomfortable faces now because Jewish words make me uncomfortable.
And those are just the names of my siblings. And I'm Avi Esther. So, I mean, it's like I feel, I'm allowed to say what I think and how I feel about Judaism, because I have very different belief systems than what we're spoon-fed in our cultural and religious systems. And it was my argument was she needed to stop identifying with the dead and start living life. She really didn't like that.
Yeah. No, it made sense as well. It's like, why would you take offense because other people have died? I remember what she said. I think I almost remember what she said. She said, people died for us. We should respect. It was something along those lines. Do you remember exactly what it was?
Yeah. She said, my direct family died in the Holocaust. I'm like, yeah, so did mine. Yeah, and it's that thing. So when you're ego slaying and fear hunting to slay the ego, slay the fears, it's like, okay, what are you afraid of? Okay, and what will happen if that happens? Okay, and what will happen if that happens? And you go down and go down and go down, and it usually goes to fear of death. It's the ultimate fear of non-existence. And what happens if that happens? Yeah? What's you won't exist. There's nothing to be afraid of. Like, and then what? And then what? And so that's all I was doing with her, but she took a lot of offense because when you have this burden of ancestors, like I must identify with the dead and live in pain to justify their death. Why do you have to justify death? Death is a part of life in this entropic world that we live. Why don't we just say, okay, wait a minute. Fuck this shit. Let's create a negentropic or a life-affirming system. In that way, we can truly honor our ancestors when we truly not just live, but thrive and flourish.
Now, Avi, you like to use fancy words because you're super smart, and so I want you to now. And I know there's people going to be like, "What does the tropics have to do with this?"
Oh, negentropic. So, entropic is a physics or science term for toward disorder or toward death. Negentropic is the opposite of that, or life affirming, or toward order. Yeah, there's some synonyms for you.
So that was and there was you did say something there to her where she just was like,
oh yeah, I totally confused her.
Really
I used
good.
2 big words.
It was really good. But suffice it to say, yeah. So we had a great time, and this is
today in the sauna. This woman, I wanted to stay and chat, but as we were getting ready to leave, this woman opened up the whole 9/11 can of worms.
Are you serious?
I am so serious.
Oh my God, I missed that.
And this other one was like, no, I can't believe that the American government would do this. And this one was like, yeah, I'm like, look, I'm like, thank you for opening this rabbit hole. I wish I could stay and join this conversation. You are fantastic. She's right. Listen to her. I love you guys. Peace out. And like left.
I gotta go to more saunas. Saunas are amazing. Great because it's basically the only time where you're gonna get a good 20 minutes at least with total strangers where they can't really escape unless you really upset them and they leave, and everyone's just kind of chilling and it's nice and warm and it almost kind of like it's basically almost like an intimacy experiment with strangers. It's fascinating. And it's really fascinating.
So I've noticed that people who come in either in a bathing suit or in a towel, like naked, with just a piece of fabric covering them, are more willing to be in dialogue than people who come in their full yoga thing. get up.
That's
Fear.
true. That's true, actually. Yeah. You're more anal if you're covering everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I noticed that.
That's interesting. Yeah. Threw a kiss to the pink. So I don't know if there's more to talk about the sauna.
I don't know. We just talked about the sauna quite a bit.
Yeah. There was a lot of sauna talk.
That's a lot.
But anyway, but do that, people. Like, seriously, go to a sauna and just make awkward chat, tell some racist jokes.
Or
and
in an
have a great time.
elevator. I'm sorry, a lift.
Elevators are great.
Yeah. When you're in a really tight space, just start talking to people. It makes them really uncomfortable.
Me and Marcus, who's been on the Sasha Dagan podcast, lots and lots. We had some great ones. He had a few really good ones on the elevator. Like when it opens, be standing like. Actually, I think I might be just making this one up now, or I've done it once. But yeah, I've done this in various situations where you just stand. So you're, as soon as the door opens, you're right in front of someone's face, and they're just like, whoa, and then or just face the wrong way. That's what Marcus do. Just face the wrong way. So everyone's facing one direction, and you face the other direction, which means you're staring at everyone's faces.
Except not for me, because it means I'm at like titty height.
Yeah, for you, it's
and they don't even see me, and then they just like stample. They
farting on elevators is great.
No, don't
asking
don't
uncomfortable
fart.
Questions.
Asking, yes,
really good.
But don't fart.
Farting is great.
No, the smell is horrible.
But anyway, enough about that. So let's talk about it's hard to even, because you're so like with other people. If you get into a conversation about like spirituality or whatever, there's always like a, oh yes, it's doing this thing, or I read this book, or for me it's meditation, or blah blah blah. But you're just, after knowing you quite well, you're just tapped in. You're just tapped in, and so you're just always like, oh yeah, XYZ entity who is, living but not on this plane of existence, but another one is telling me to tell you this. That's normal for you. That's not even a thing. It just is.
Yeah.
And so I have another friend that's uber psychic, and when I talk about her, there are people who are like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I'm like, "Yeah," and even with her, she has to sort of like get into that space and be like, "Okay," like I'll say, "Oh, there's something I really want to find out from XYZ, from my friends."
Does she do the transition thing?
And so there's no weird thing. She just goes, "Okay, give me a second." You know what I mean? And then she's like, okay, yeah, cool, all right, what do you want to, you know what I mean? But there's a moment, there's just a moment of her going, okay, give me a sec here to sort of tune in. There's no moment for you.
No,
You'll just be sitting there eating a bowl of cereal, and you're like, Archangel Michael says you're an idiot, and then the thing you're looking for is literally in front of your face, and stop being a fucktard. Or whatever.
And he's ignoring the fuck out of me. Yeah, so can you fucking listen?
Or you'll just start laughing, and then you'll be like, and you'll look at me and go, your spirit guides are hilarious. And I'm just like, I know, they are really funny. And it's just, and there's no skipping a beat. It's just, you'll just say, like, you know what I mean? Like the other day, like just to give people an example of, so they're just like, what the fuck is he talking about? Well, that literally happened. You, like the other day, you had a message from Thoth for me, and then Archangel Michael was telling me stuff, and it was just like, yeah, I needed to know that. Good, But you told, was it from one of those guys where you said I should go to Hampstead, or that was just you saying go to Hampstead?
Oh, I don't even know. I've been telling you to go to Hampstead for months.
You told me to go to Hampstead, and then this is one of those little things I've noticed happening recently. It's very, very interesting. So I'm going to share this. So I've realized that a lot of the thoughts we think are our thoughts are not our thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And I doubt if any of the thoughts we have are really ours. I think there's just a stream of thoughts coming to a degree. There's always access to, depending on what your frequency is and where you're at with everything in your beliefs and blah, 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 and your practices and everything, you will have access to certain thoughts. And it's like a choose your own adventure. Like you can choose I'm going to have this one or I'm going to have this one, but you only really have access to those ones. And if you open up and meditate and breathe and you're in nature and you feel amazing, suddenly you're just going to go to another higher level where, there's better, more greater, more beautiful, more loving thoughts, and you can pick some of those. But there's always beings and energies around us with many, many, many thoughts trying to influence us, and you're literally just picking which one you kind of, there is sometimes I think there is no you. It's literally you're just a character picking fucking thoughts. And other times I'm like, no, there are thoughts, but I'm also have my own unique, I'm a unique soul with my own unique experience, and I actually am picking what I want to do and what thoughts to listen to. But anyway, once in a while, shit like this happens. I was standing there just 3 days ago, and this nice black lady that I know from the park who has a wonderful dog, we're just standing there, and I'm just like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And I'm playing with her dog. And out of nowhere, this is just 2 or 3 days after you were like, you got to go to Hampstead, and I was like, yeah,
again,
I
for like
to.
12th time.
Well, whatever. But the reason being because I've found it very difficult to connect to source and just be at peace and fucking relax and get into a good place while in London, where we are now. So I'm just complaining about this. I'm like, I can't do this here. There's too much fucking energies and there's too much going on, blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, go to Hampstead, faggot. So I was talking to this nice black lady with her dog, and I'm just petting the dog. And out of nowhere, she just goes, have you been to Hampstead? And I'm like, funny you should say that. I haven't been, I don't think, in a long time or ever. And she's like, oh, you would really like it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I knew right away that wasn't her. She didn't say that. Some other being that's floating around that's trying to help me put that in her fucking head.
I've been talking to you for months.
Yeah, probably. So that was, either Thoth or who.
So I should, be more fucking weird with it? Maybe I'm too normal with it.
And
I should be like, I should just be like, wait a minute.
I
have a message for you.
You could. This is why we need to get cameras on the podcast so we could catch like your retarded ejaculation / getting a spiritual message face. But I've had another moment. Like, it's very interesting. What I've noticed, and this is recent because only about a year ago, when I was having my kind of next level, right when I consciously shifted into an alternate reality, a better one, and I started realizing so much stuff. Just getting all these downloads. Only recently, I've realized that another example, that basically Spirit is always pushing us all and helping us all the fucking time if we just wake the fuck up and see the messages and the teachings, if we're just conscious with it. But if you're just like, blah, 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 then you won't fucking realize what's happening. So this happened another time recently, a couple months ago. Me and Isabel, we went to a different park. We're just walking around, and she was basically at a point where like, yeah, I want to have my my business, which is cool, and we make doggy biscuits and give them to the local dogs just because we love doggies and we want to bribe them to come play with us. So we make dog. And I was saying to her, I was saying, sweetie, if you really want your business to work, it'll work. Whatever you want to manifest. I said to her, look, if you really wanted to, you could put these fancy dog biscuits you make that are super delicious into these fancy little bags, and you could sell them for 7 or 8 fucking pounds, and people would buy them. You could start a business doing that if you really wanted to. It's just up to you. And so we literally had that conversation, and a few days later, or maybe a week later, we go to some park, and we just fed maybe just a handful of people some of the doggies, and we're having a nice time. And as we're walking along, some guy comes running up that we met a few minutes ago, and he's just like, hey, how's it going? Did you make those doggy biscuits yourself? And she's like, yeah, I made them. And she's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, my friend actually has a business where he has all these dog stores. So, I mean, if you wanted to sell them, I'm sure I could put you in touch with him, and I'm sure he'd be happy to do something. And I knew already, like, she's not really going to do that. That was just like a crazy thing I said. It was like a crazy idea, but we weren't really going to do it. And I was just like, hey, man, that's really kind of you. I think we're okay for now, but if we want to, we'll definitely, we'll see you again. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And you could see the look on his face. This little confused look like, that's a weird thing for me to have said. And then he just walked off. And I noticed right then, I was like, that wasn't him. That was Spirit going, hey, here's another opportunity. This is the universe going, if you do want to do the doggy biscuit thing, here's an opportunity. And I literally consciously was like, thank you, universe. We don't actually want that, but we do appreciate you facilitating that. Thank you.
And you get why it was so easy. You get why it was so easy.
Confused. He said it, and we were like, no, that's cool, but thank you for it. And he was like, oh. And then he literally just was like, like weird that like he ran over to say that, and I was like, why would you do, like, you don't even know us and you're going to run over to offer that your cousin or whatever has a fucking business? What are you talking about? No, that was Spirit, like, go and offer that to this nice lady. That's what that was. And I'm starting to see this all the time. The universe is like, here's an opportunity, here's another one, here's another one. Just be aware and take the ones that you want.
Be aware. And then in typical conversation, people go, oh, well, how come the things that I really want, I don't see like that? And it's like, well, the reason why this guy was so easily ran up and offered you this, because there was no resistance to it, because it wasn't something there was no emotional charge, there was no deflection, there was no resistance. It was like, oh, great thought, here you go. But when we have emotional charge around things, then we're creating that barrier between us and our ability to see, hear, or receive. So, yes. number one, look up away from your phone and see the world around you and be open and start listening and paying attention. It's like very basic. Like I feel like we're back in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can remember teachers saying that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
where you're going when you're walking.
This whole thing with it's interesting. The thought just came to me now as you said it, but
the thought,
the whole thing about the phones, like obviously, like it makes us less social, less connected to each other, just on our normal, like, hey, how's it going level that we're on our phones. But I think it's actually taking away from our spiritual connection, because if we can't be in the moment enough to see just opportunities, things happening around us that is always God somehow communicating with us. If you're on your phone, you're not going to see, maybe that homeless guy whom had you gone over there and helped him or spoken to him, you might have had some sort of connection or some moment or some clarity or something, or that bus or that woman over there who's actually one of your fucking potential soulmates who's looking at you sadly. You're not going to see her. That spirit has gone through all this trouble to make her be walking by there at the exact right moment that you're going to be there. So maybe, and you're on your phone, you asshole. You were going to marry that woman and make babies, and that timeline.
But now you gotta wait another 2 years.
That's right, you stupid fuck. God wants you to know you're a stupid fuck staring at your phone.
Well, I got a great story, just exactly about this. So, I think I've told you that in 2005 I met a dude on the beach and we decided to get married the day after meeting, and that was all soul aligned, blah blah, and it felt very much like we were choosing the path of our greater destiny, and that's why we made such a outwardly impetuous decision. But we were together for about 9 years, so it lasted for a long while. But the interesting thing and the connection here is at that time Luke was he just kept praying to hear God, so that he knew what to do and the direction to take and how to move forward, because he felt a little bit lost. And just for the people who are listening, I was totally sober, and so was he. No alcohol, no drugs, no marijuana, and just to answer my mother's question, when I told my mother I was married, and she asked me if I was drunk or stoned, and I was also properly hydrated. That was her third question. And just because she didn't believe I was properly hydrated, I was drinking between 1.5 to 2 liters of water. So I felt that I was appropriately hydrated. Just to set the record straight.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks. So Luke kept saying in this prayer, God, help me hear. And if I can't hear you, help me to see. And if I can't see it, write it on a wall. And if I don't see the wall, walk me into the wall. Put me in front of it so that I can see it. And we went on this very interesting adventure, and I'll spill the gory details that led us through different places within the Yucatan. And we wound up...
Pause.
Oh, yeah. And we wound up in a place called Puerto Morales, which is just south of Cancun. And we got this beautiful apartment, and we open up the balcony doors, and we go outside, and we're like, oh, you could see the ocean, and oh my gosh, look at that wall directly like in front of our... What does it say? Oh, it says, one love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right. And what does that say? Oh, it says, be mindful of your thoughts, for your thoughts become your words. Be mindful of your words become your actions become your destiny. And it was literally written there on the wall in front of us. And the third thing that was on that wall was a pyramid to love, the top being love, the bottom being communication and respect and honor, and integrity being in between love and communication. And I found it really amusing, and what inspired that story was that awareness, so be mindful of what you are creating with your words. Your thoughts become your words, become your actions, become your destiny. And if you ask God or source or spirit to write it on a wall, then it will be written on the wall. There's plenty of that. So that's mine.
Yeah. And I guess he was Was he a bit like, holy shit, or was he kind of like, okay, cool?
We were both like, because we were together when we opened the door, and he had been saying it, and we were both in this like, just write it on the wall if I can't hear it or see it. And one of the points of contention between us was that I would say stuff kind of like how I'm like, go to Hampstead. You have to hear it from spirit inspired lady in the park before you listen. He had the same problem but worse, so I'd say it, but he wouldn't listen. And he wouldn't listen to that person or whatever, because it was all too normal. It had to be something special. You have to get the tingles on your arms, and it's like, what? Why can't God just always be speaking to you? Because God is always speaking to you, and that's kind of what it's like in my head sometimes. I don't know that I would say that it's God speaking to me, except that we're all God and all of that. But I hear, and this is where I start feeling like a crazy person. But it is very normal for me to just hear voices in my head. I'm hearing myself. I'm like, okay, I do sound like a crazy person. But it's like, as you were saying, I'll be at a meal, we'll be eating, and all of a sudden I'll burst out into laughter and like turn to where there's nobody sitting and have a discourse.
Yeah, it's not unusual.
Yeah. But it's normal to me. Oh my gosh, over the weekend. Oh God, I don't. This is like.
Say it. Let it out if it's really bad.
No, it's just weird. Over the weekend, I went to this meeting, and at the end of the meeting, my friend who I'm going to be working with was like, oh yeah, there's this channeling thing going on around the corner. Do you want to go? And I was like, okay, why not? So I went, and it was beautiful. It was very sweet. It was a really lovely evening. But during it, one of my dragons came back to me, and I haven't seen this dragon since 2013, 2014, but it was freaking much bigger. And now and so there's this like old, it's like an old friend has come back. And it's really interesting because Thoth has been trying to speak to you for a while now. And Michael just came in to help because Michael and Metatron's connected to Thoth, are friends. And so I don't see it as like weird woo-woo. Like none of it is like weird woo-woo stuff. And I don't know if you've ever gone to a live channeling.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know how some channels, like, they have to, like, get into space, how you were speaking before. And some are more like, and some are really enthusiastic in their clearing for spirit. I'm not, because I kind of live half in another world. What was my point? I lost my point.
It's fine.
I got lost in the Thoth track.
It's great. Frankly, I want to talk more about Thoth and because it's on my list of things to do to go and look more into this, because when I was in Ecuador, when I get into that frequency and I'm just breathing and meditating and I'm just in my spiritual space, it sucks you in, and all I want to do when I'm in that space is go more down that path, like open up more and just get into my heart more and listen more to Guruji speak, or I was listening to I started
listen
reading.
to the trees talk.
Okay, I'll add that to the list.
And like, if you can't hear them, ask something specific. I'm totally serious. Like, you could even talk to your plants.
I've had in the last year and a bit some minor communication with trees. I think I did tell you. I think I told you once. I've spoken about it on the podcast before. Where after reading a book by Malidoma Somé, where he talks about when he was basically abducted from his village, and when he got back to his village in Africa, he was going to do the ritual to become a man. And one of the things he had to do is he had to see the spirit of the tree, and he sat there for I think it was a really, really long time, and he was struggling, and he was just naked, staring at this tree for fucking whatever it is, hours and hours and hours, and he couldn't see it, and he was going to break down basically, and finally he saw the spirit of the tree, and it was a really profound experience, and he goes into it in quite a bit of detail, and it was super healing, and changed his life forever. And so after reading that book, I was out in Toronto just jogging one day, and I was like, I'm going to go talk to that big tree over there. And I just walked up to the tree. I stared right at it. And now I can feel them, their presence, and they're very aware of me. But the first time it happened this was not that long ago. It was like a year and a bit. And I was just staring at this tree, and I said, I know you know I'm here, and I know you're alive. So I want you to show me your spirit. I just stood there, not for maybe half a minute, nothing happened. And I said, show me your spirit. And I just kept eye contact. And I just stood there for a couple minutes, not that long. And then suddenly I had this very, very powerful twitching between my last and second last knuckle on my left hand, a little bit towards the wrist, but very powerful, like bzzz, like someone came up and just shocked me with a shocker. Where I was like, holy! And at first I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, was that the tree? And then I looked at him again. I said, show me your spirit again. Bzzz. And I said, show me your spirit. Bzzz. Nice. 3 times. And then I was like, just to make sure that was you, one more time. Bzzz. And I was like, okay, well, I think we've gone past checking. So that was definitely you. And we had like a moment. And I was like, cool. Like I was just, like, it's alive. It knows I'm here. I'm like, hey, cool. And then after that, I just went for a little run. And I could feel all of the nature. All of the trees were aware of me because suddenly I was aware of them. And I was like, oh, fuck, it's all alive. This is cool. So that was my first experience. And then there's been some others. And recently, a little healing by one tree in Hampstead. But anyway,
they're really, really amazing.
I want to find a good one. You actually told me for healing, I need to find a specific type of healing tree.
There's a rebirthing tree.
Now this is interesting, right? I want to do that because I asked you. I said, well,
you leave in like 2 days.
Yeah, I'll be back. But this is fascinating that you need to find a specific type of tree, and
it's hollow.
A hollow tree?
Yeah, you climb in, and it's like this perfectly held, like, tree womb space, and then you go out the other side. I have pictures somewhere, I'll show you. And then you sort of, like, it's a little bit scary, but you kind of have to, like move your body in such a way and kind of squeeze through, although for me it wasn't so much of a squeeze because I'm so tiny. But, and then you sort of have to jump out. And you do it either at dusk or at night, and it's so much more profound than you would think it. Because I mean, it's like you climb in a tree and jump out the other end. Yes, and when you do it within a field, a morphic field, it's quite profound. It's really freeing, and it's something that a couple of different groups know about. Not many people know about this tree. It's over by the Wellspring. Most people don't even know about the healing waters. And Hampstead used to be a whole healing area. The waters there's, like I said, there's 2 rivers that feed the ponds. So one of the rivers have a very high mineral content and good iron and things like that. So it's very healing. Good sulfur, good iron. So yeah, the mud's really good for you. The water's really good for you.
I remember when I went down the tree hole now.
The tree hole.
The tree hole. You just brought up something about trees, and then I went on a rant about trees, but you were actually going to say something about trees earlier.
I know it was just an encouragement, because all the gurus in the world are some are very profound, some are parasitic entities. Stay away. For the most part, trees are kind and wise and nurturing. Yeah, in the times in my life where I've been most lost because things were just very traumatic and very tumultuous, trees and the stars were the 2 anchor points of peace. And so the first time I ever heard trees, and when I say heard, I mean like the voice inside my head, like heard, like how I can hear your voice sort of thing. I remember it clear. I was 15. I was raking leaves because I had to rake leaves with the group of girls that I was with. And I heard you missed a spot. And I went, what? And I like stand up and I turn around and I go, what? And there's nobody there. There's nobody around me. It's just me, and I'm like next to this tree. And I kind of look, and I did miss a spot, and so I'm raking, like nothing for another 5-10 minutes, and then I'm like moving, making my pile, and then I missed another spot, and I turned, and I went, what? And then I realized there was still nobody around me, and I turned to the tree, and I was like, are you speaking to me? And it goes, well, there's nobody else around, is there? And I went, oh my God, you're in my head. And I was just, I think it was just like, there's nobody to be, can you hear this shit? Like, and then I was just kind of like, whoa, what else can you tell me? And the tree just, they didn't say anything else. It just emanated this peace, this love. And the only response I could do was to just wrap my arms around this tree and hug it, which makes me sound like a hippie, but it was so profound for me. And then when the hug finished, she was like, talk to the tree next to the cottage. And because I had been living in that cottage for maybe 3 months or so, and it never occurred to me to go talk to the tree. So one afternoon that I had off, I went and I talked to the tree, and I climbed up, and I fell asleep in such a deep way that I just wasn't resting in the cottage. And between the trees and the stars, I was taken care of because I was able to listen, I was able to hear, and willing to be freaked out and move through how you articulated, you sort of with the guys that you worked with. You know, when you cease to be afraid of being ridiculous or being rejected, or it's like, well, if your mom's rejected you and your dad's rejected you and you've been rejected, it's like there's nowhere else to fall. You're on the fucking ground. What else is there to do? You know, if you hear a tree in your head that wants to give you comfort, say yes. Wherever that comfort is coming from, as long as it's not like Satan.
What if it's a satanic tree? Can there be a satanic tree?
I've never come across it, but I have heard of them before.
Really?
Yeah, it's trees where they've used the elder lineages to do sacrifice and imbued into trees spirit entities that are portals to the lower astral realms. But those are scary places that I don't recommend anybody explore, because that's scary.
I mean, I was hitting when I said if there's any evil trees, but
well, not
interesting.
only trees that have had, for lack of a better word, sorcery influencing them. By nature, I've never heard or come across any mythology that talks about some naturally organic growing evil tree.
Yeah, wouldn't have thought there would be.
No.
Yeah, you told me the other day also that I should be looking at the stars.
Yes, definitely. Especially when the moon is not in the sky.
Tell me more about that.
Well, similar to the conversation we had in the sauna today, just to tie it all together, we were talking about frequency and healing and light. So light carries frequency. And your body, your physiology responds to that light, and different types of light affects different organisms and different materials in different ways. So sunlight affects plant matter and helps it to grow, as long as it's balanced in soil and water. Moonlight will kill your seeds. Don't ever put your seeds into moonlight. However, it will help to charge and clear your crystals. So its effect on crystalline structures is very different from its effect on biological material. Yeah, we're just talking about light and how the moon's light is refracted and absorbed into our bodies in a different way, into our pineal, etc. So starlight is essentially like really far away sunlight and has an effect on your biological system. So most people, I'm judging myself right now for sounding bonkers, but all of the light in nature has an effect on you, whether that's positive or negative. And it's up to you to understand your equilibrium, to understand what you need. And sort of from the things that you've been bitching about, my diagnosis is, you need some more starlight. And starlight away from the moonlight. Because while moonlight can be very beneficial for the crystalline structures within your body, it interferes with starlight. Because you're getting two types of light, so even if, for example, you have like a candle lit, so maybe people don't know this, but if you have sleep disruptions and you need to increase the melatonin production in your brain, stare at the naked flame of the candle for about 20 minutes, and it actually increases your production of melatonin. It's a great little trick, especially if you're jet lagged or having insomnia. But if you stare at the candle flame and you've got a fluorescent bulb on, you're frying your pineal. It doesn't mean that the candle isn't going to do, but you're basically sending mixed messages because you're receiving two different frequencies or spectrums of light. One which is highly harmful to your body, both organic and inorganic structures within your body, and not organic, crystalline and biological structures in your body, and while at the same time also having this healing light. Yeah, one doesn't cancel out the other, but the effects on you have different things. So on a new moon, when the stars are out, just go connect, feel the light. Yeah, and where your focus goes, attention grows. Sort of cliche spiritual poster. It's true.
Interesting. So new moon, that is when the moon was full and now it's gone and it's just starting and there's almost no moon at all.
When there is no moon at all,
Right.
is a new moon.
Right.
Yeah, because it's totally hidden and not in the sky.
Because actually it's a bit confusing because if you say new moon, you might think, it's full.
No,
Therefore,
a full moon is a full moon.
right. But,
that's why they call it
new moon
full.
is no moon.
Yeah.
Which would be more clear because if you say new moon, I visualize, it's now a full moon, which is now it's full. It's a new moon. See what I mean? It kind of makes sense.
That's just retarded, Sasha.
You think so?
Yeah, because they call full moons, when the moon is full. And new moons because it's the beginning of a new moon cycle.
No, it makes sense.
Hence not being there.
But I just wanted to clarify in case
Yeah.
other people might also be.
Oh, well, that's true. Maybe
As
people
retarded
don't
as me.
know.
I know very little about moon or moon cycle. Very, very little.
Yeah.
So it's worth. Okay, cool. So there's information there. That's very useful. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to check out Avi's website, aviesther.com. And see you next week in part 2. Woo!